our Murray City School Coordinating Council meeting. I'm Councilmember Kat Martinez, and I will start by reading our notice. Our public notice is hereby given that this meeting will occur electronically without an anchor location in accordance with Utah Code 52-4-2074 due to the infectious disease COVID-19 novel coronavirus. The city's School Coordinating Council Chair has determined that conducting a meeting with an anchor location presents substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present at the anchor location because physical distancing measures may be difficult to maintain in the Murray City Council chambers. And Bill, I'm sorry, I forgot to ask if you were ready before I launched in, but thank you for getting us live. I do apologize for that. And before we get going, Councilmember Rosalba Dominguez and Diane Turner are both excused for this meeting. And last meeting, I was supposed to introduce our new Council Executive Director, Jennifer Kennedy, and I failed to do that. So she's amazing and is with us tonight. And so official introduction to her here. And then we will just head down and start with approval of the minutes. And if anyone has any corrections or would like to move to adopt.
I'll move to adopt as recorded.
Thank you. All right, I heard Dale first, I think, so we'll take his as the second. And oh my gosh, they're so long between these meetings. Do we do a formal roll call or do we just all say aye?
Just all say aye.
Just all say aye. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Wonderful. Okay. I'll keep an eye out for big thumbs downs to make sure we recognize anyone who's not wanting that. All right. We'll head to business items. And first up is Melinda Greenwood, and she's going to talk to us about economic development and her report.
Okay, my screen should be shared and I am unmuted. I think most of you know me by now, but for those with the public that may be watching, I'm Melinda Greenwood, the Community and Economic Development Director. And I've prepared just a brief update for you today that will just go over some of the bigger projects that we have out in the community right now. And then if you have questions at the end, you can ask me. One of the projects that was recently approved is called The Vine. It's at 184 East Vine Street. You'll recall what was there previously was the Murray First Ward and the Carnegie Library. So this is a mixed use development. It'll bring 6,000 square feet of commercial and 130 residential units, and it's in plan review right now. So building permits will be issued on this within probably the next couple of months. Here's just a quick visual of the renderings of what that's to look like. So out here, this is the back of the property. There will be tuck under parking, and this is the front of the property, which you'll see. So this is Vine Street out here, and the commercial space is on the bottom with the residential living above the commercial space. Let's see, sorry. The next one I wanted to go over was Security National. And this is the large building that you all see off of 5300 South and the I-15 that's under construction right now on 4033 West Ascension Way. Right now they have their second building under construction. It's 219,000 square feet of Class A office. And this is part of a larger planned campus that will include, when all is said and done, a total of 5 office buildings and 3 parking garages. The second parking garage is also under construction right now. And when it's all built out in a few years, we'll have nearly 1 million square feet of Class A office here off of 5300 South. So again, here's just a few photos of renderings of what that is to look like. And then for some reason may be aware of this building. It might have some relation to what you all do, at least with the teachers. And the UEA has elected to build a new building on the site that they've been at previously at 887 East Pontiac Drive. It's 20,622 square feet of office space. And here again is just a snapshot of the renderings of what that looks like. And then the next project I wanted to go over with, this may also be one that you would be interested in. It's called Youth Link. That'll be at 346 East, 4500 South. So it'll be tucked back behind some of those larger buildings that front 4000 or 4500 South. It's 7,300 square feet of building or of office and space that they'll use for after-school programming and adult education opportunities. And that's what this building, the rendering, is planned to look like. So that may be where some of your kids might be attending after-school programs there, or working with the staff there with what they have to offer. Wanted to also let you know about Dutch Brother Coffee that is under construction right now up on 9th East. It's in the parking lot, or the development where the EOS has gone in and the AutoZone. It's a drive-through coffee shop, and they have a really cool business model where they work with the local community to determine charity that they would like to give back to a local charity. And so each of the purchases and sales that they have through their coffee shop there will give back to the community. And I don't know what that charity will be yet, but that's just kind of a nice thing that Dutch Brothers offers. And this is what their renderings are. And again, that's under construction right now. I think they just have gone vertical, finished the foundation the other day. A few other projects I wanted to touch on real quickly, and I'll just note this: if you do have questions about the Murray City Hall project, I'll let the mayor address those. We're still working on the development at 48th and State, the one that the RDA that owns the property there, working on that development and the development agreement with the Eadlin Company. I think we'll be looking to having some concepts out to the community for a public meeting within the next 8 weeks or so. And then Town Place Suites, which is the hotel chain on 53rd South and State Street, has just opened up. Abington Assisted Living, they're on the same campus, so that's across the street from the high school there. They are nearly complete, probably a couple more weeks, and they will have their certificate of occupancy. And then Murray Square, which is up at the former Kmart site, they have their building permit issued. So the first building that they have, the permit is issued on that, and they're near ready to have their second permit issued, which would be the total between those buildings would be about 300 units that they will start construction on in the next few weeks. The Kmart building is completely demolished and removed, and they're working on site clearing right now. So that is really all that I had prepared to share with you today. But if you have questions for me about any of these projects or other projects, I would be more than happy to try and answer them.
Melinda, I have just a quick question. With that Security National project, you said that was the second of the planned 5 buildings of office space. Are you hearing any chatter about this potential trend to remote work and that type of thing of impacting their plans there or not? Or is that what are you seeing with other potential office space permits? What are you hearing out in the community?
So that's a really excellent question. And I asked that of Security National just the other day. The good news is that for this building that they have under construction right now, they don't anticipate any issues at all with leasing the space. And I think they even have some tenants already programmed for all of the space there. So to speak to the larger community of office space, I'll say that I know that there has been a lot of uncertainty with office space right now. And there's been some companies that have decided to kind of pull back on office projects recently. And you would have thought that would have happened a year ago, but it really hasn't happened until now. Most everything that was underway or well underway a year ago, people just proceeded forward with. So it's been projects that maybe were planned in the queue or would have been becoming active right now. So there's kind of a variety of opinions on that. And I think the jury is still out, but I've heard everything from initially we thought that there would be less demand for office space, but they're finding that is not necessarily the case. And what they will likely, a lot of places will end up doing is having kind of a hybrid approach where they may have half of their staff in the office on an A day, the other half on a B day. So still the same amount of space being required, but just utilized differently. I have also heard, and they're reporting that they do want these businesses that have a culture that's very important to them do want to get people back in the office and back working. They're finding that it's really hard to integrate new employees or younger employees and have them understand the culture when they're not actually there in the office. And so they're thinking again that the office space will be there. It'll just be utilized differently. And so the demand for this space, initially, I think a lot of us or a lot of people thought that there would be less demand because people would be working from home. But they're looking at just shifting that and getting people still back in the office, maybe half the week or every other week. And then on a more technical scale of that, there's other items that will be changing, and they'll probably be doing like HVAC systems differently and even setting up areas to have social distancing and spacing programmed a little differently.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Melinda?
Yeah, I just need to mention that I've had a group of my neighborhood come and contact me about, and you guys have all heard this from me before, but sorry, I'll turn my video on. I didn't even know it was off. About the amount of apartments and high density housing that goes in the Parkside area. They feel like they're just getting one after another, and it does impact this culture of a school. We love all our kids and we want all our kids there, but the turnover of a apartment building really does impact the school. And if you guys overlaid a district map on a city map, I think you would see that there is one area of this, and maybe you already know this, one area of the city, a quadrant, that seems to be heavily impacted over and over again by this dense housing. And I know we need it to one degree, but it's hard for the community to see it. Not only does it impact our school, it impacts our roads and everything, and they're feeling hard hit. So I just think the council needs to be aware of that. I told them I said, write your council members and contact zoning and get involved, because that's where that decision, they thought that we decided where we had some say when apartments went in. And I said, that's really not our call. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, we do hear that frequently from the public, and I could just say I don't think they're wrong with some of their observations, but also I think that it's what you're seeing, at least when you're out and about, the most visible stuff that's out there is the projects that you see while you're traveling along the major arterials and the large collector streets. And typically that is where the most dense or the more dense housing goes. We have in the past and through the general plan made a conscious decision of where to locate that type of density, and the locations that make the most sense for multifamily housing is along the transit corridor. So that puts us at the, we have the Fire Clay transit oriented development area with the track station there. We have our Murray Central Station, and then the Fashion Place West, which is primarily residential, single family residential right now. And we don't really see a demand there for redevelopment of that area coming anytime soon. But it's really more a factor of the more ideal placement of those types of developments are along the major arterials and the transit corridors. And I can see where that would definitely impact a certain area as far as the school district boundaries. But it's, the access to the rail and the commuter rail is really what drives that.
Right. And I think that's hard for because that makes sense, like in a logical fashion, but families are seeing, there's 2 or 3 apartment complexes planned up in our area, and the people down on the west side of Murray are getting $800,000 ivory homes. And so that's perception is reality. And so that's a hard thing to understand. Like I said, we want all kiddos, but it does make a more transient school, and that comes with a lot of difficulties. And I think Jen's going to address that a little tonight or in one of our, just to be aware.
Yeah.
Melinda, can you tell me how many or what is the makeup of the Vine residential units? How many 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and do they have 3 bedrooms?
Okay, let me go and look that up.
I can just call you. I can call you tomorrow.
Okay.
And we can
Okay. Yeah.
That'll just help us in planning.
Okay. They are primarily studio 1-bedroom, and I think there's a few 2 bedrooms. I think there might be a couple of 3-bedroom units, but I can get that information to you for sure.
Are they market rate? Do we know, or are they subsidized?
They'll all be market rate.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great questions. Anything else for Melinda?
I have a quick question on any update on I think it's called the Bullion Area, that development over there.
Yeah, that's been a very interesting topic in Murray lately. The latest I can provide you with is the developer has submitted an application yesterday, a new application at the planning commission meeting that was held, I think, was the 18th maybe, but the Michael Brodsky Hamlet Development decided to withdraw the application that he had on the table at that time, which was to rezone to RM15. And his application that came in yesterday is to a request to have the property rezoned, the front portion of that to R16, which is single family lots at a 6,000 square foot minimum, and then to have the back portion of that property that borders the power corridor to go to the RM15 density, which allows for about 12 units per acre. And generally when we're at the level of a general plan amendment and a zone map amendment, we don't really talk about projects, but for a variety of reasons, this has been very project visible because the developer held a neighborhood meeting. So his intent is to have a mix of 20 single family lots and 55 townhome units, so a total of 75 lots, and initially, or 75 units, residential units, excuse me. Initially, he had planned on doing, I think, 92. And for him, the reason why he chose to withdraw and resubmit was that some of the concern coming from the community was that even though he only wanted to do 70 or 75 units, the zoning, the density would allow him to do up to 120. And so he wanted to take that kind of concern and argument against the project off the table. So the configuration that he's submitted with the application would really only allow him to do what he wants to do, which is the 75 units. So that will be back on the Planning Commission agenda for the May 6th meeting. And we will be sending out public notices for that project next week. Those will go out in the mail, and that should be back on the May 6th agenda for the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Melinda? All right. Well, thank you for that update. And we will head to our police report and turn it over to Chief Burnett.
Hey, thank you. It's good to be with you on this nice rainy day. I heard someone talking about their flowers needing water, and I was looking at my lawn the other day when I mowed it and thought the same thing, is needed some water. So hopefully this will get it out of it. Looking at what's been going on in the schools, we talked a little bit the last meeting about some of the things we've seen going on in the schools, and saying that this year has been a little different than other years, and it's continued on that way. We're not seeing a lot of major issues. We still see some of the issues with kids vaping in school and some of the things that go along with that, but a lot of other issues that I think we've dealt with in the past haven't been. This has been and those working in the schools. I mean, and we dearly miss being able to get in and do our DARE program, and hopefully we can get back to doing that next year. So that's still the plan there. But other than that, there's not really anything really major to talk about as far as that goes. As the weather starts to warm up, we tend to see a few more of the pedestrians, the kids walking to and from school, especially the junior high kids, filtering into the parks, either Murray Park or Riverview Park. And but we haven't seen any real issues started up there yet. One thing that we do every year, and we've started doing that this year, and I know we've heard from one of our council members about this as well, and that's we look at our school crossings, and we go across the two districts, but we look at all of our placements of our crossing guards, and we like to look at what needs more, what needs less. Are we taking care of the kids the way they should? Are there other areas that we haven't addressed in the past that maybe needs a little more looking into? And so we're in the process of doing that audit now, and we will continue that through the end of the school year. And we'll be speaking with the principals and people in the district with that. We're seeing fewer and fewer kids walking to and from school to a lot of our places. And we have some areas away from the schools where we're seeing, if we're lucky, anywhere from 2 to 5 kids cross the street or walking. And we've got crossing guards there. And these are places, some that have been busy in the past. And I think it's just that fewer walking. It'll change now, I hope, as the weather gets warmer, but still we don't see a lot. A few years ago, we were required to put up the school zones and the crossing guards on Winchester and Blaine when you stop busing the kids on the south side of Winchester. And for the most part, that's very little traveled by students, but there's still always a couple. So on streets like that, even though we may not see a lot of kids there, 4800 South, just because of the type of roads they are, we will, as long as there's one or two kids crossing, we will be there with our crossing guards. But we know there are other areas, some even closer to schools, that maybe in the past haven't needed to be guarded, that we're looking at. So just so you know, that's what we're doing. If you have thoughts or concerns, or citizens that are saying anything to you, we're more than open to listening to the suggestions and making sure that we look beyond just what us and the school sees, because I know the parents and the kids are the ones that we're out there the most. Other than that, I don't have a lot to report beyond that. In the next 2 weeks, we'll have some major changes in the police department, and these are people that you have worked with in the past. Mike Fernandez, one of our lieutenants who has overseen our school resources officers and that program for a few years, is retiring. His last day is tomorrow. And then Joe Tarver, my assistant chief, has taken a job with the Salt Lake County District Attorney's Office as their chief of investigations, and he'll be leaving next week. So they're both people I know that you've had interactions with and worked with, and we'll get some new faces introduced as soon as we can. So unless you have any questions, that's all I have to report tonight.
Chief Burnett, just speaking on the crossing guards, I just wanted to thank you for continuing the crossing guard at Riverview on the 700 West. I've dropped kids off there a lot of years and had a lot of near misses and close calls. And just the other day, as I was driving and as I was dropping off and watching the crossing guards and how diligent they are in keeping those kids safe, I was like, oh, I am so thankful we have one here, because that is, it's just a good place for a crossing guard. So I hope that one will continue, but I do appreciate it as of what we've had.
No, and I agree. It's taken us a little while, just because they don't meet warrants, to put some at the junior highs at Hillcrest and Riverview. And since we've done that, those will, we can only be there and try to help the kids across. We can't force them to, but I think we're keeping those that choose to use the crosswalk and the crossing guards, we're keeping them a little safer. So yeah, those will be continued. Most of the ones we're looking at are the ones you get farther away from the school, and fewer walking that far. So those are really the ones we want to look at the most, and just determine whether we need to move them closer or to other locations. But thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much, Chief, for your presentation and for what you do. Next up, we have the mayor's report. So I'll turn it over to Mayor Camp.
Okay, thank you. I know we're all very COVID weary, but I just wanted to take a couple of minutes and talk to you about what we're doing as a city post House Bill 294, which I know you're very familiar with. You're dealing with in just a little bit different way than we are. But I just want to give you an update on what we're doing as a city. We fully expected, at least I did, I fully expected the county health department to extend the order past April 10th, and was quite surprised when they didn't, when they opted not to. So we did what we did as a city, and under the guidance and advice of our legal counsel, went about as far as we could under his advice, and that is we extended our face mask order until the three thresholds are met that was included in that legislation in 294. And I threw together a couple of slides I'd just like to go over, if you'll bear with me for a moment. Let's see. Okay. So we extended our emergency executive order, which we called our temporary face mask policy. And this applies to all the city facilities and city employees, and then visitors to the city facilities being city-owned structures and facilities. So that's where it applies. We've been getting a lot of calls from businesses in the city wanting to know if they still have a requirement, and they do not. It's up to them. We also updated signage requirement. The signage really is the same as what we've been seeing for the last year plus, but we did update it in the emergency order, and in fact, this is what we're putting on our buildings now, and we added the effective April 10th date so that people that come into our facilities will realize that this is not just an old sign that's there left over, that it's a new sign. So, and then we've put in the COVID, the COVID, what's the word I'm looking for? Symptoms. The COVID symptoms and the requirements there. So the question is, when will the order end? Well, there are 4 triggers to end the order, and they are, first of all, if I decide to rescind the order, then it goes away. The second is if the city council terminates our local emergency, which is the authority which is where I got my authority to issue the order in the first place, was through the city council's local emergency order that was put in place last March, a year ago. Third is if the legislature terminates the state of emergency. And then the fourth, and the one that we are anticipating will trigger the end of it, is if those thresholds are met. And if, just to remind you what those thresholds are, the 3 thresholds are, the first one is, you can see, is the 14-day case rate. This is current as of today. They're reporting 173.4, and the target is to be below 191, and that's per 1,000 population. So meaning the 14-day case rate average was 179.4, so that's dropped about 6 in the last week. The second, the ICU use, the utilization less than 15%, and this one actually went up 0.5% from last week. It was at 9.4% last Tuesday when I reported this to the council. So, but it's still well under that 15%. So the third one is the one that we're waiting to hit. We still anticipate, even with the numbers that are been coming in, that probably mid to late May is we'll hit that 1.63 million prime first doses of the vaccine. Last week, this number was 920,515. So you can see that it's gone up a couple 100,000 in the last week. So that's what will trigger the order to end. So that just lets you know what it is that we're doing, in case you're asked, or in case you're wondering. I know that what you're doing in the schools is different because you're under different orders. So with that, that's really all I had tonight. So unless you have questions that I can answer. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And that brings us to Superintendent Covington for the school district report.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, to start off, I am super excited to announce that this year we are going to have the Murray High School class of 2021 graduation. That will be on May 28th. at 10:30. And we are going to be doing that different than we have in previous years. It will actually be on the Murray High School football field. And so, Chief Burnett, we may need to reach out to you. We're hoping that it doesn't clog and congest roads and things such as that. But we are limiting the capacity. We've worked with the Salt Lake County Health Department, and we are allowed to have a 50% capacity for that. And so each of our graduates will get to have 4 tickets. And so we are super excited. It's going to be a little bit different than in the past. It will be a stage will be set up, and it will be the diploma ceremony with very limited speakers, so as to cut down on the time that individuals have to sit in the bleachers at Murray High School. There will also be a virtual event where speakers and musical numbers will be pre-recorded, and that will be shown on the Murray High School SPAR YouTube channel beginning at 8 a.m. that morning, and can run and loop. So we are thrilled that we are going to be able to do something for our graduates this year. Again, it's going to look a little bit different than in years past, but we're super excited that we're going to be able to have this opportunity for them. We will excuse this year. Sometimes we have individuals from the city come and sit on the stage with us. And this year, due to the limited capacity, we can only have 7 people on the stage. And so those of you that have come in the past, you're welcome to come, and we can find seating for you, but it just won't be on the stage this year. So we are in the process. I'm sure we are getting asked, what does next school year look like? And again, I really wish I could finalize that and say, here's what it's going to be. But we will be discussing that. We've got some preliminary ideas. Our intent is to have school as normal as possible for our students and be able to return to pre-pandemic while still taking some of the practices that we've learned and implementing those in. And so the board and the district will be working on that over the next few weeks so that we can get some information out to our public. Going back to the discussion with regards to economic development, and I just want to say shout out to Melinda. I really appreciate working with her and being able to kind of talk to her. I know as I followed, especially the Bullion development, the thread on that, there's concerns regarding overcrowding in schools. And what I want to say is we as a school district, we're not here to say yay or nay on economic development. We do have capacity in our schools. This year, we are about 400 students down from where we were in enrollment last year. And some of that is due to the pandemic and families choosing different ways to educate their students. So we definitely have room in our schools. The biggest challenge that we do have is, especially where the Bullion development is coming in, or potentially coming in, let me state that. Viewmont Elementary is look as a board at doing some things differently. Maybe we have room in other schools. Riverview has plenty of room. Murray High School has plenty of room. The 2 schools in our district that are at capacity currently are McMillan and Viewmont. And so we do have capacity. We do want students. Like Melinda said, we do want students. So when individuals say that our schools are overcrowded, in one light, that is correct because Viewmont is very full. It absolutely is. But in the other side of that, we do have capacity. We are 400 students less than we were previously. So that is something we want to work very closely with the city on, as we'll have to make some decisions on if developments come in, where those students will go. The Kmart development, and that's not the name of it, sorry, the Murray Square development. I'm sure they don't want to be called the Kmart development. The Murray Square development, those students will go to Parkside Elementary. We do have capacity there. We will just have to work on busing and some of those things. But I just kind of wanted to clarify that. I know there's been a lot of comments, and we appreciate that. And again, we are not here to give feedback on, if you should or should not. I just wanted to give you an idea of what we have as capacity in our school. So. And then the mayor spoke about House Bill 294. Yes, we definitely, we're all navigating that. We are under the governor's orders to have face masks through June 15th. And our school year actually ends on May 28th. And I do want to say we're appreciative to our families who have been so good to help with that. We have 32 more actual school days remaining. We feel very proud that we've been able to hold school 5 days a week all year. and that we've been able to offer flexibility for families, because that's been very important to us. So we will continue, and we just appreciate the support of our patrons. Those are the items I have, and unless somebody has any questions for me.
I just want to thank you for covering capacity. That is absolutely a question we get frequently, and I don't often feel equipped to answer having my kiddos at Viewmont. Like, that's my point of view. So it's really good to hear just overall in the district what that looks like. Just really, really helpful. Is there a point in the future that you see of needing an additional school, or like what that would even look like? Is there like a protocol for that, or?
You know, at this point, I don't know about needing an additional school. We have plenty of room at Liberty, plenty of room at Grant, plenty of room at Longview. So we have space in our schools. It's just where the population, the student population is centered, if that makes sense. And so that's something that we as a board will have to look at if we need to. I don't want to say the B word, boundaries, because that is a career killer. So give me a few more years if I can, but those are bridges we'll have to cross. So, and you are always welcome to call me if you have questions, any of the council members. Feel free to reach out and ask me if you have questions about capacity and what that looks like. I am more than happy to talk that through with you.
Thank you so much. One question with that, you said we were down 400. Enrollment, is that gross enrollment or in-person enrollment?
That is gross enrollment. So, okay. And that is pretty typical for all school districts, with the exception of a few like Tooele, where everybody's moving to. There was just this drop off. So we're not sure. And one of the advantages we have in Murray is we accept a lot of out of district students. We have a lot of students who want to come to Murray, our Murray schools. So that's another way we can fluctuate growth and capacity, is by, if we get more of our students, we can limit the number of permit students that we bring in every year. But that's a great question. So we're kind of working on it.
Thank you for all of that information. Anyone else have any questions? All right. Well, thank you so much for that great information. For internal business items, we only have that are I missed other items from school board or city council members. Does anyone have anything they wanted to bring forward?
Are you guys going to in-person meetings anytime soon? You guys talked about it as a council.
That's a really good question, and our chair's not here. So Dale, do you want to answer? Or do you want me to answer?
Well, we can both answer. We've talked about it, but I've kind of changed my mind on that, simply because of the animosity that's out there, because the mask mandates are gone. And I really don't want to be a marshal of telling somebody that comes into a meeting that, you know, we want them to wear a mask and have what happened in Salt Lake. So I don't know. I think we need to revisit our, we've talked about it, but I think we need to revisit that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We're having conversations. I think we're all eager. We like the conversations in person. We miss the public, but how can we do that safely, especially with so many not having had the opportunity for their vaccine yet?
Yeah, I just know the public's anxious, so I just wondered if you guys have talked about it.
Yeah, Melinda, this is Brett. I think I agree with you. We are anxious, very anxious to get that going. And as Dale said, that Diane has been doing some homework on that, so we're kind of waiting to see. But yeah, we agree. We're anxious with you. Great question. Thanks.
Anyone else? Anything you want to bring forward, talk about? Just wait, just long enough awkward pause. All right. Well, interrupt me if you do have something. Otherwise, I'll just say that our next meeting is October 13th. And I hope we're in person by then. I sure hope. But if there's nothing else further today, then this meeting is adjourned. And thank you all so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Good to see
Bye,
you.
everyone.
All right.